Joining us right now is New York Congressman and member of the Trump Transition Team Executive Committee, Chris Collins. Congressman, good to have you. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's nice to be with you. So, what an exciting week, Maria.
It sure is. We're going to be there with you in Washington for this exciting week. So during Obama's 2009 transition period into the White House, 83% of Americans approved of the effort. Why do you think Trump is having this weak showing when it comes to Americans approving on this transition right now?
Well, I mean, truly, this was the most contentious election in history. The Democrats took this election for granted. They knew they had this election won. So you have to imagine today the reaction of the Democrats we're seeing with John Lewis is they just can't believe they lost this election. They're still wallowing in their sorrow, and you're getting it ginned up by some of the liberal press who are even Bill Clinton himself, saying that Donald Trump is the Electoral College president. I would say half the country are Democrats, and the half that voted for Hillary Clinton just can't get over the fact that Donald Trump won. So I think that's what you're seeing. But as Mr. Trump proves, he is president for all Americans. They're going to come around, or most of them will come around. So I'm not concerned in the least where the polls are today. I mean, let's face it, the polls weren't right about the election either.
That's true. Yeah, look, I think you make a great point. But listen, I mean, John Lewis going on, one of the Sunday shows this weekend and saying that Donald Trump is not a legitimate president.
I know.
That was incredible. And it's also, frankly, outrageous to me that 24 Democrats are boycotting the inauguration.
Well, this
Are we 5 years old?
I mean, they obviously didn't lose from what happened during the election. All of the rhetoric that the Democrats were doing fell on deaf ears. The American people knew better, right?
Yeah, they
saw what happened during the last 8 years, and guess what's happening? See who's going into Trump Tower day after day after day. You have business leaders going in. You even have Silicon Valley leaders coming in. They want to work with the president. So when you look at this poll, it just proves that they're still whining over the election, and they can't get over, and they're having all these narratives, whether it's having to do with Russian hacks or it's an air of desperation, but the market's proving otherwise, and everybody else is picking up and moving on. So, you can look at this, and I just don't think it really matters.
Well, clearly what John Lewis said was irresponsible, but what's even worse is the media is piling on Trump. They're acting as though Trump's just going around beating up on John Lewis, who's a civil rights hero. But John Lewis isn't above criticism. He's not infallible. He did great things for the African-American community. But what he said was reckless. And I don't blame Trump for calling him out for it.
And here's what he did. He fired back, and here's the tweet from Trump. He said, Congressman John Lewis should spend more time on fixing and helping his district, which is in horrible shape and falling apart, not to mention crime-infested, rather than falsely complaining about the election results. All talk, 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 no action or results. Sad, Dagan. That's his tweet.
As members of Trump's team have said, he has the right to defend himself, but at some point, I want him to not punch down, because people are going to keep hammering him, and instead, because Trump responds, he draws attention to the negative.
It keeps the story alive.
Right, it keeps the story alive, and I understand that is who Donald Trump is. But at some point, at times, I do wish he wouldn't punch down, so to speak.
Ignore stuff.
He would absolutely ignore it and say, you know what? We're going to bring the country together and stick to his message. At times like that, because, again, you're shining a light on what John Lewis said, which was reprehensible. That was how I felt about it.
Yeah, well, my opinion is what John Lewis is doing, he's pouting. He lost. It's like a spoiled child, and we've seen it with the others. They can't get over the fact they lost, and what do spoiled little kids do? They run around and throw a tantrum. That's what we're seeing. They are pouting. And frankly, it's somewhat enjoyable to watch because it shows you, again, how upset they are. And when they were so smug when they left Congress, knowing that Hillary Clinton was going to win, we're just seeing that reaction. We should all actually just, kind of grin a little bit and understand this is how hard this election hit them when Hillary lost. And, we've moved on, and ultimately America will, but we're going to have some members of Congress that may never move on.
Well, it was like Trump was tweeting about Saturday Night Live again over the weekend.
I missed
about how horrible it was. And the opening skit was, I mean, it was real bathroom. It was real bathroom humor. It actually wasn't humor. There were jokes that weren't that funny.
Oh, okay.
But But the fact that he's still tweeting about Alec Baldwin's performance just kind of made me laugh. I said, you know what? I want a repeal and replace on Obamacare. I want tax reform. I want all these things that benefit all Americans.
Yeah, no, you make such an important point.